Good morning. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper, and I'm here today with Stefan Nagy, the co-founder of Capbase. Good afternoon in your case, Stefan.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing real well, thanks.
That's great. So to start with, can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the startup ecosystem pretty much my entire career, from starting an ISP straight out of college to going and working for Full Tilt Poker over in Ireland. I ran customer acquisition and payments there. So that was, kind of an exciting time. And then, following that, I spent a period of time working in public diplomacy, working with clients from all over the world. Folks in Switzerland and Central Europe, the Middle East, and Central and South America.
Wow. So you've traveled a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Had an opportunity to live a lot of neat places, meet a lot of great people.
Yeah, cool. And now you're in DC, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, cool. So what has been your experience with remote employment, both as an employer and an employee?
Sure. So I've had remote teams that I've worked with remotely, for a while in my career, and I've been remote. So, when I was working in Europe or something like that, a lot of my team would still be here in Washington, DC, for the public diplomacy. But Capbase is actually the first company that I've been involved with where we've been fully remote. And we made the decision to go fully remote at Capbase from day one, actually pre-pandemic. And that was more a necessity of geography, just the fact that I'm located in Washington, D.C. My co-founder is San Francisco based. And, we also didn't want to be tied into getting talent from either one location.
And you have offices in different parts of the world?
We actually have 0 offices.
Well, you know what I mean, people.
Yeah, so we've got folks in Sri Lanka, India, Georgia, Tbilisi, not Atlanta, Poland, Portugal, and here in the United States and in Canada.
Wow, that's so. What has been your experience from having people in that many locations?
So, I mean, the biggest challenge is time zone, right? And it's being able to have that real-time overlap. We all live and die on Slack and on Google Meets, and having the ability to be back and forth in real time is really kind of crucial. Now, right now, my co-founder Greg, he is currently working from Europe. So I'm the one who's furthest west, and then our folks in India and Sri Lanka are the ones who are furthest east. But even with that, it's still a 10.5-hour spread between noon my time and noon in Mumbai. So it still is a little bit of a challenge, but I work a little bit early, they work a little bit, some of them work a little bit late, and we kind of try to keep our time to around GMT a little bit, a few hours this side of it.
Yeah, I used to have a team in India, and I know it's we would alternate weeks who had to call at night. So
Sure.
That's pretty much, I mean, that's the only fair way to do it.
Yep.
So what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
So, I mean, I think that the pandemic has honestly been great for remote employment, because it's taught people the hard way that, like, hey, you can do this. This will work. You need to do things a little bit differently, but like, if you take it seriously, this will work for you. And it worked really well. One of the things that we do is whenever somebody new joins, we give them a bonus to set up their own space. So instead of saying, like, you get this computer and this is the computer that we're going to issue you, we say, here's an amount of money, go buy a computer, buy an external monitor, buy yourself some AirPods, buy yourself a nice desk, a nice chair, whatever it is that is going to make you comfortable and effective in your workspace. That's what we want you to have, because you're going to be spending a lot of time working. You're working out of your own home. And, we recognize that we're saving on office space,
right?
But we want you to be comfortable in, the space that you have set up and chosen as your office.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've done the same thing here. It doesn't look like it. It looks like I'm in in a lake, but I'm actually in a very comfortable office. So
yeah.
So what is the story behind Capbase? Who are your customers? What's your target audience? What are your services?
Sure. Our customers are entrepreneurs. They are people who are starting their first company or starting their second company or starting their 17th company. It's anybody who is looking to form an entity, and we help them get set up. So the story behind Capbase is both Greg, my co-founder, and I are repeat founders. We've been through this, several times. So we know kind of all the pitfalls and all the hassles and all the heartache that comes from running your own business, whether that's, filing as a foreign corporation in California, or remembering to send your annual statement of information to Delaware, or making sure that your cap table is set up correctly. We've learned all those things the hard way. So we want to help people who have not had that experience, who haven't had that privilege, to be able to get up and running quickly and easily and with no hassles, so that when they go to either compensate employees with stock options, or they go to raise money, that they can do it in a way that's clean and in a way that's not going to cost them more later. Because one thing that's kind of a little known fact is that there's a lot of inefficiency in the venture capital process that gets spent on due diligence, on cleaning up mistakes that were made in early documents. So Capbase helps to address that. We like to look at it, honestly, as democratizing the process of starting a new company.
So you mean you don't just start a company, all of a sudden you're making lots of money and then everything's easy?
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
Do you actually deal with any VCs themselves to, as a channel?
So yeah, we're actually dealing with a number of VCs, and we have a product that is specifically for investors. We're more kind of on the angel side of things, since it's folks who are early, but we are building. So, we're a startup ourselves, right? So we are building product, and our goal is to have our product like one step ahead where our most advanced customer needs it. And that's pretty much where we are today, and where we'll continue to be. So kind of as our customers grow and mature and raise more complex financing rounds and that sort of thing, we'll build the features that they need and make sure that we're growing in the appropriate way.
And you stated that you started as a remote company. I mean, how did you do that to start with? Because a lot of companies they'll actually have the office and then they'll start hiring remote employees. You started remote day one.
Right. Well, so, I mean, it was easy because there was 3,000 miles in between the only two people in the company, right? So I was here in DC, Greg was in San Francisco. Remote was kind of the only way to be. And also we didn't want to spend the money, quite frankly, on an office, right? And, we both enjoy working from home. We enjoy setting our own hours. And then as we started growing our team, we found that, all right, well, we could hire people from our local markets, or we could just put job postings out and allow anybody globally to apply. Since we don't need them physically in the same location as us, it doesn't much matter to us from where they do their work. And there's a lot more talent in this world than happens to be located in either San Francisco or Washington, D.C.
Yes.
I know sometimes from, the bubble of either of those two places, that's tough to acknowledge. You might say, well, yeah, I think there's 3 or 4 people in New York, maybe. But yeah, it's, I think Andela actually has phrased it the best. Brilliance is evenly distributed.
Yes, it is.
So there are very smart people all over the world, and we want to work with them.
And since I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, I can tell you they're starting to come to grips with that reality, because I mean, the perfect example is Twitter's decided to go 100% remote, right? Yeah. So they will be looking all over the world.
Yeah. I'm honestly, I'm interested to see what the pandemic and the companies who have announced that they're going 100% remote, I'm interested to see what that's going to do to commercial property markets. I think we know what it's going to do. Well, I mean, I'm interested how quickly it's going to happen, right? Because in Washington, D.C., most of the tenants are law firms, right? So you've got places that have a whole bunch of square footage that they're spending on conference rooms, right? But then way more that they're spending on offices for people. And I wonder how long it's going to be before it's going to be like, hey, you know what, Janine, you've got Mondays in the conference rooms. Frank, you've got Tuesdays in the conference rooms. and you just have an office suite that's 5 conference rooms, and you do away with the offices and all the rest of the floor plan.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. I'm also interested to see what it's going to do to the prices of real estate, residential real estate, because people are going to say, well, if I don't have to live near the office, I can live anywhere, or maybe I'll go out to, San Mateo, which is basically where I live, or maybe I'll go back to my hometown, wherever that is.
Sure. And, I've heard anecdotally that sort of thing is starting to happen. And I wonder, like, when the lockdowns are over, after we have a vaccine, if people will start to remember why they were living in cities in the first place, right? Yes. Like the walking economy, being able to get places quickly and easily. And, if they'll want to go back to that, or if we'll, want to stick in rural or more remote areas.
Well, I've actually talked to some CEOs that went to the Y2 Combinator, had to be in San Francisco and just fell in love with the area. So that's where they started. They kept their company. Right.
Yeah. San Francisco is a great town. It's just horrendously expensive.
I know. And unfortunately I own a house, so I love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the pandemic, and it forced all companies to go remote. You already were remote. So I don't think it really caused you major problems, but it did cause a lot of problems for your customers, because I got to believe some of them really had some growing pains with that.
So, by the time the pandemic hit, we were still kind of building from scratch. We hadn't yet launched to any. I think we had like 2 customers at that point. Okay. That was back in February, so an age ago. And it has definitely hurt some of them in terms of kind of looking to pivot and kind of reevaluating their sales models. It's not the sort of thing where if you're doing enterprise sales, which a lot of our folks are enterprise SaaS companies like we are, a lot of that is, the kind of in-person, face-to-face meeting. And, now obviously you're doing it all over Zoom or Google Hangouts or what have you. And that works great. But it loses some immediacy sometimes, I think people find. And honestly, some of the problems that we've been hearing from folks is that they'll have customers who are saying, like, well, we're getting new software fatigue. Your product is awesome, but like we've got 5 new pieces of software that we're onboarding to people this quarter, and it's just a hassle. So that's kind of an interesting thing that we've seen, like everybody who's trying to cope. And, for my kids' schooling as well, I think the school has been through like 15 at this point, different products that they're trying to make work, but none of them are, really 100% what they want or what they need. So things keep switching around.
Yeah. I think if someone were to come up with a really good solution for schools, they would do quite well.
Yeah. And, with companies like Blackboard and that sort of thing, I'm actually kind of surprised that something better doesn't exist, or that and I'm sure, there are 5 startups that are working on this problem right now, but I'm ready for it to be there. I'm ready to have good distance learning.
Yeah. I've talked to a few parents that are in that same boat, or they just want them to go back.
No, like honestly, like myself, I love the random hug, like in the middle of a conference call or in the middle of the day or whatever. Like, it's great. Summer's been a little bit challenging just because like we can't go outside to play.
Right.
But, we still get out for, bike rides and that sort of thing. So,
yeah,
for everything that's going on and all the terrible times that are for a whole bunch of people, I count myself as very lucky. And, we've been very, very lucky through this, and it's really not touched us very much at all. Well, the biggest impact that it had on, Capbase was we were planning in the middle of March, we were planning to get all of our team from all over the world together. Right. Because like, we do believe in like the face-to-face aspects of team building, which are, super important. And you need that kind of like unstructured downtime. And we were planning that to happen actually in March. And well, obviously that didn't happen.
Yes.
So it's, it's been interesting.
Well, hopefully you can do it in 2021.
I hope so.
Yeah. And then, well, finally, there are companies like Caper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. How important do you think that's going to be going forward? Since, I mean, you're really in the heart of this industry. You know, for companies, the startups that need that talent and they need it quickly, that's one of the main criteria.
Yeah, I think that hiring, I mean, this is not news. Hiring properly is the most important thing that any company will ever do. And failing to hire properly is what will lead companies to fail. So anything that you can do that helps you to hire properly, helps you to hire quickly, helps you to hire the right people quickly, will give your startup a tremendous advantage. So, and that's what it's all about, right? Is having those advantages and building those advantages for your company. So, you know, if you can make those decisions in terms of, you know, screening the 500 candidates to find the 2 that you want to hire or the 1 that you want to hire.
Right.
Yeah, it's all about that.
And as you know, even just screening 20 candidates is very time consuming. Let alone 500.
It absolutely is.
So,
but it's important.
It is, absolutely, because you got to find the right people. And especially now, you got to find the right people that are comfortable working remotely and that can, you know, have good communication skills.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I like to say that the 3 things that I look for in a candidate are the ability to write, the desire to read, and the ability to get things done.
Yeah, I would agree.
And if you've got somebody who is literate and motivated, there's no telling what they can do.
Yes, and it's what makes it is the difference between a successful startup and a startup that just kind of flounders for years.
Yep.
So, well, Stefan, this has been very fascinating, and I want to thank you for your time today. And I know it's getting close to the weekend there, so I'll let you enjoy your weekend with your family.
Well, thank you so very much. This has been a great conversation, and, you know, I've loved seeing Italy there.
Yeah, well, what's left of that town is
That's right.
1 people. So, all right, well, have a good weekend.
All right, thank you. You too.
Bye.